we're going to Antigua, and then we're going to Chimichangas. Chimaltenango.
Maltenango.
Yeah.
Chimichangas. Good morning, everybody.
We're staying at the boutique hotel here. I'll put it in the chat.
Yep. I think I've stayed there before. Some boutique, yeah. Welcome everybody on this good Tuesday morning. I don't know about you all, but I have had a couple weeks of a bunch of problems at properties that I've never had before in my 30-year career. Have you ever had one of those weeks, Jim?
All the time.
Where it's like, what in the world? Like this
Yes.
morning, we just listed a property, and the first showing that happened, there was like 30 hornets in the house. And we're like, what in the world? Like, uh, I have a house that we're flipping for an investor. And we got a monsoon rain about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And the basement has been wet with new water every day since then. And it's just we just had some of the weirdest
I've had
things
some
happen.
very strange ones in the last 3 or 4 days also, Tom.
You
So I
have
feel it. Oh, yes.
any ones you want to share?
Well, I sold a house and they were doing their final walkthrough last Thursday, right on their way to closing. And they got to the house and there was a water line broke and there was just like water spraying everywhere.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's just one example.
I actually had a borrower from Conduit Capital in my office, picking up an insurance check this week for something very similar to that. Like they had the whole house all done, and then all of a sudden the water pipes burst, and they had to redo the whole entire rehab. At least they
I
had
do
to.
like your idea of putting the air tags on the HVAC. I think that was a good
Yeah,
idea.
I think I do think there's something to that. So yes, we had some going. Man, I tell you what, it's just been a weird couple of weeks here.
It
These bad
has.
things do happen, folks, and we don't hide the fact that those things happen in the deal maker community. So we're excited about a lot of stuff coming up. Me and Jim were just talking about this trip next week to Guatemala. Share the love. Augie's on this call as well. And we're excited about that. I'm leaving Tuesday, and these guys are leaving next Thursday. I'm going to share my screen here so we can kind of get started here. Appreciate everybody for jumping on this morning. We've got a person that's newer to me, Andy Teasley, on today. He's going to talk about Note and the financial calculator. And I do think it's something that we all need to learn. I know I was just telling him before the call, I need to get better myself and understanding the financial calculator. So just kind of, I'm excited about today's call with this. I've got a really good meetup group tonight. We're talking about construction with some local guys that have literally added 250 rentals to their portfolio in the last 8 years. These guys are just hustlers, and they're licensed contractors as well. And it's a really happening event. I just had 2 more tickets sold this morning before I got on this call, and people have been saying that they're going to be coming. So I'm expecting a good crowd tonight. So I'm excited about that. So welcome to today's Dealmaker Community Call. Jim, we got Jim Ingersoll with us today, and you just got done with Dealmaker in Virginia. Just kind of wanted you to give me a wrap up. How was it, Jim? What did you learn anything? Well, just
I
give me
always
a little bit of
learn.
snippets about how it was.
Yeah. Personally, I always learn. Every deal maker, I pick up some ideas. So yes, 100%. It went amazing. I think we had almost, I don't know, 325 to 350 people.
Wow.
Our new venue is awesome. It fit everybody easily, no issues. And we're locked back in to do the exact same venue next year in March. So it's going to be great again. I'm already working on speakers and I'm working on schedule and things a year out. And it was mind blowing to me, Tom. It was by far the best one we've ever done. And my team really took it up a couple notches. It was great.
Yeah, you definitely need a team when you're doing an event that big. I couldn't even do a small event without a team.
Right.
Jim did events for years with just him and Cheryl, and I'm like, man, I just could never do that. But
Yeah, it was a lot. It was
it's a
great.
lot of work.
Appreciate everybody's love and support. It's a great product. Everyone loves the Epic networking, and the community is really strong. So I'm very, very grateful for everybody who participates. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Tim says it was life-changing, and Augie says Dealmaker was awesome. So welcome to the Dealmaker community calls. Last month, we had a great call last month. Mary
Oh, we
Hart talking
did.
about private lending. We went a little bit over, but she just did a great job talking about private lending. If you guys haven't watched that, or if you guys weren't here live, go back and watch that call from last month. Today, we're going to be talking with Andy Teasley. Welcome, Andy. Welcome to the call here. You are muted, just so you know. But he's going to be teaching the financial calculator. You're in California, right, Andy?
Yeah, the left coast. Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's like 8 o'clock here now.
yeah, he's on the left coast. I know it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast, but it's 8 o'clock over there. But appreciate him being on today, teaching the financial calculator. And I think he's going to get into some notes as well. So have your questions ready for that as well. I'm excited to have him a little bit to kind of teach something that's a little outside of what most of our people in our network do. So kind of, learning about that today, I think could be something that can help people. Want to remind everybody about this. Me and Jim had a good call with Lowe's. And one thing I wanted to just kind of remind, something I kind of learned from the call that me and Jim had, is that with your Lowe's account, so everybody who signed up for Lowe's, make sure that you're not just signed up with the deal maker, like you guys can use the QR code and just go through these whole prompts right here and get signed up with Lowe's, but also make sure that all your credit cards are attached to your account. That way, every time you use those credit cards, those will be connected to this account, if that makes sense. If you guys need more information about that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than
That way, when you go to the checkout, you don't have to scan your QR code.
exactly.
It's an automatic link.
You got it.
So if you like automatic, like for instance, Tom, I'll give you an example. Like my Lowe's American Express, I get another 5% on. Everybody should be doing that, but Cheryl and I each have our own because we're in Lowe's all the time. And so mine's connected and hers isn't. So if she goes through Lowe's, she's got to scan the code. So we need to connect her card to the account.
And honestly, so there's a couple more steps here. The one thing I would tell you is you want all of this stuff being tracked in your account, because the sooner you can get to that $100,000 a year number, the more benefits. And I'm not allowed to tell you the benefits that you can get, other than I can just tell you
they're significant.
Yeah, they're significant, and you can get special pricing on a per item basis that fits your company. So it's not just volume savings. It's not just an extra 5 to 15% off like we already get, but it is significant. I can promise you guys, like I'm probably saving $60,000-$70,000 a year because I'm in that tier.
And really, Tom, the Sherwin-Williams discount is significant.
It really is.
So I talked to somebody who's got a painting business who also invests in real estate. So he's in our community. And his prices as a professional painting company, I mean, they have multiple people painting all week long. His price dropped when he switched over to this discount. So it is very, very significant.
Yes. And guys, like I grew up in the painting industry. I'm getting better pricing today in 2025 than I was getting in 2000. Okay. With this program. So this is to help everybody. I promise you guys. Upcoming, couple things that are upcoming, want to let everybody know about. I try to promote other people that I know in my network that are doing events. Ricky is doing this cruise in October. Wanted to let you guys know about that. Also want to remind everybody about Sunrisers every Friday morning. And something I love to hop on one way or another, whether I hop on Zoom or on Facebook. But just love Wendy. She is going to be one of the speakers at our upcoming Gary Dealmaker in September. But want to remind you guys about that. I don't have the slide yet for October, but I will have the Dealmaker lending conference is going to be in Dallas in October. So we'll be starting to promote that in the next coming months as well. And then we have the Gary Dealmaker September 4, 5, and 6. We've got early bird pricing still going on right now. So if you guys want to get your tickets, I believe we will sell out this year. Jim, you've seen my venue, and I think I'm going to sell this out and probably have to turn people away. So make sure you guys get your tickets for the Gary Dealmaker. We've got some amazing speakers. I've got a person who invests out of the country who's going to teach you kind of the things to think about when you're investing out of the country. Jim's going to be one of our speakers. Some of the people that you guys already know, Tom Barry and Wendy Sweet and Jeff Shahusky, all really good speakers are going to be there. But I'm excited about that event. Next week, we're going on this missions trip. We raised all the money. I want to just give a shout out to everybody who gave anything for this. Some people gave 100, a couple hundred, 500, a couple people gave a couple thousand towards this. We didn't quite reach the goal, but God knew what we needed, and we basically were able to do what we needed with what we did. The kids are going to stay in the Airbnb for 2 days, which kind of helped cut some of the costs down. So I'm excited about that. And then during this trip, we're going to be meeting with Augie and Jim Ingersoll and some other people. I think Chuck's going to be on that trip as well. And we're going to be doing a wheelchair drop with the kids. So I'm super excited about that. So pray for us. We leave next Tuesday, and then the wheelchair drop is that Saturday right after that. So just kind of give you guys a heads up for that. And then just pray for share the love. I think they're doing 3 drops while they're in Guatemala as well. I believe they're doing one in Antigua in addition to Chimaltenango with us, and one in Guatemala City as well. So I'm excited about that. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you've never been on a missions trip, you need to go. You just really do. I don't have the time today to explain those thoughts. But I promise you, if your life isn't changed, you're not open to your life being changed. So, next month, I'm excited about, again, another new friend of mine. Bill's reached out to me a lot in the last couple of months, and appreciate him and his mentorship. He's going to be our next call, May 2nd or May 20th. And this guy this guy teaches the simple things that just work. It is really cool, really good guys. I promise you guys will enjoy Bill, next month. So mark your calendars, May 20th for next month. And without further ado, I will stop sharing my screen, and we're going to let Andy get on and talk about the financial calculator, talk about notes. And like I said, he loves to take questions. So just get those questions ready for you guys.
Yes, please interrupt a lot. I'm bad at jargon because I've been speaking this language since the 80s, and there's a lot of words that I use that other people have problems with. So I really, really appreciate questions and getting slowed down. I'm sure happy to be here this morning. I don't know what level of, I see a lot of friendly faces out there. Those of you that aren't hiding behind a black screen because it's too early in the morning for you. I teach the financial calculator. I prefer the one that's on the app, the HP10BII. And I'm just curious, how many in here would like to be able to tell your financial future today? Are there any takers for that? Good. Well, I've got this interesting tool. I can't claim I made it. I just use it a lot. Okay, there we go. There's the financial calculator. There we go. Everybody see that okay?
Yes, sir.
So let's start with some. I have a first question. How many of us know somebody in their 20s? Does everybody in the room know somebody in their 20s?
Mm-hmm.
So every time I run into somebody in their 20s, especially at a real estate meeting, I will say, wow, you got 50 years to go, don't you? And they all think they do, and they probably do at this point. So I ask them a simple question. I say, if you could invest $500 a month at 15% for the next 50 years, what will that grow up to? And they guess all kinds of numbers that make no sense. And then I take out my calculator and I show them how we figure this out. It's 50 years. N is the number of years. 15 is the interest rate. Frequently, somebody will ask, where can you get 15% on your money? And I like to point out the easiest way I know is to do tax lien certificates in Arizona at 16%, or in Florida at 18%, or in Texas, which I haven't tried yet, is 25% for 6 months, which is an insane return, but they're all better than 15. So assuming they have nothing in their IRA, because you know those youngsters, they always have forever to start. This is the present value, the PV button. And we're going to take $500 out of our wallet every month for the next 50 years. And if we do that, 50 years from today, we will have $69 million. And typically those youngsters will say, wow, that's a lot of money. And of course, they all say 68, and I remind them how rounding works and give them a number they can't forget. But this is how you can send it home for them so they really understand why they have to start today. Ask them how much it costs just to wait 1 year to start. Anybody got a guess?
Much.
Unmute and give me an answer.
A lot.
A lot. And any other brave souls out there?
15.
Can't all be sleeping yet. Didn't get that boring, did I? No guessers.
Say 5 million.
How much? 5 million? So 49 years. Remember the last number was 69 million? 59 million. It cost them $10 million because they didn't fully fund their Roth IRA last year and invest it well. How much of an impact can you have on the youngsters in your life if you just teach them this one little calculation? Okay, so why I like this tool. I spent probably the first 20 years of my investment career knowing this loan. How many of us in this room have that loan in our heads? Do you know you can borrow $100,000 at 6% and it's going to cost you $600 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I did business for the first 25 years of my life. Until somebody said, you really got to go take Bill Tan's calculator class. And I did. He had stopped teaching for about 6 months due to health issues, about 2 years due to health issues. And it was his first live class back again. And it was a packed class because there were a lot of people who had wanted to have his class and just couldn't because it wasn't available. And I went in there and my eyes were opened. The things that I could figure out with this calculator and know, I was really good at, gee, that's good enough. And yeah, I can keep this and it'll cash flow. But here I had a way to tell what my returns and yields really were and figure out how much I need to get by in the future. So I hope that you will join me and spend a weekend with me so we can talk about all the fun ways to use this machine. So let's say we're trying to figure out how long we have an opportunity to buy a home from a seller. The seller wants $250,000. And he really has his heart set on 7% interest. And you can only afford an $1,800 payment. How long is that note going to be? 285 months. What if you could only afford a $1,200 payment? That won't work. So how do we figure out what our minimum possible payment would be? Let's assume we can talk him into 50 years financing. And let's solve for that payment at 7%. So we need to give him $1,504.22. If we want to, that's the least we can do, and that's 600 month payments or 50 years. I have a reputation in my farm. I have 20 widows in my community. My buy and hold inventory is all in one 1,800 unit subdivision in Thousand Palms, California, which is a suburb of Palm Springs where I live. And those widows, when one of their friends passes away, their mom, their kid, their heir will call mom's friend and say, oh, mom died and I'm stuck with the house. What do I do? And my widows tell everyone the same thing. You need to call Andy. He pays more than anybody else. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to clean out the refrigerator. He handles everything for you. Just fly into town, load up all the pictures and family documents, pick up the family Bible, all the stuff that's important to you, take it home, leave everything else. He pays more than anybody else. And my thing is, I will pay any price for any home in that community if I can have a $500 monthly payment. You might ask how I get that. Typically, my reputation is being the guy that pays more than anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I want to get seller carryback, let's take a step back. What is the default answer in negotiation? Come on, anybody, talk back to me. You can unmute and speak.
Yes, but.
Okay, let's have some other guesses.
No.
No.
Or.
There's somebody. Augie, yes. That's what I find it to be. Boy, those tires are kind of bald. Will you knock $500 off the price of your car? No. Gee, I checked that oil. It hasn't been changed in a while. I think you need to give me a couple $100 to cover the oil change. No. So when you're trying to acquire financing from a seller, I always ask this way. You want $250,000 for your house, right? Yes. Well, that's a little high, isn't it? Well, it's what I want. In the event that I could pay you $275,000, is there any reason you wouldn't rather have $275,000 instead of $250,000? And the default answer is no. There's no reason I wouldn't rather have $275,000. So I'll pay $275,000. And that means I will pay you 550 payments of $500. Now, if I can rent that house for $1,800, take an HOA fee of $300 off of it, and have $1,500 net cash flow to me, am I going to make cash flow on this house? Most likely.
Yep.
Those of us that keep buying hold houses know you can. This is tough because people aren't talking.
I told you. I told you, you got to bring it. So a couple things I would do if I were you, Andy, is I would, if you don't mind, I would kind of dumb this down. I know you think that you're dumbing it down right now, but I would dumb it down a little farther and just explain all the buttons on the calculator.
Sure.
Because they're seeing you go through that like slickety split, and you know this like the back of your hand. But I believe that there's a good portion of the people on the call right now that need to kind of know, what does each button do? How do you get there? How are you coming up with these calculations?
A great idea,
I do think
Tom.
what he said, though, I do think what he just said, guys, is really important. It was one of the takeaways I took away from the last cruise with the Investor Addicts is, that scenario he just gave is a 48-year loan, basically. It's 550 payments. It's about 48 years. And I think that's outside of what we've ever thought. And so I guess my question to you, Andy, is how many people actually accept that offer? Like, do people accept that offer, or is that just something that you say to kind of get them thinking or negotiate? Or do people actually accept 408 or 48-year loans with seller financing?
Frequently. When I hit 22 keeper houses, I said that it's 2 more than I need. I'm not going to buy another house. I'm currently up to 32 because I keep getting these phone calls from widows. And I get these opportunities, so I'm taking them because I like to help people out. And I point out to these sellers, one, they weren't getting rent off of this house that mom was living in. They were probably having to supplement her income a little bit. So they're going to be out from under that. They can't live here because they're not 55. They're clear across the country 9 times out of 10. And I tell them, quite frankly, and you can use this trick whenever you're trying to get seller carryback financing. You want to base it on payment, not on purchase price. And tell them, this is all the house can afford. If I promise you a payment that my tenants can't afford to pay you, I'm going to fail because you are depending on me going out, getting a just over broke a job and earning the difference between what the house can pay for and what you want me to pay in payments. And you know the proper response when somebody says, well, I'm not going to live that long. You, of course, say, well, you want to leave something for the kids, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about another
I mean,
situation.
I can sit here all day long and see the advantages from me, the buyer, overpaying. So just so you guys know out there, if you're listening, there's an advantage for you to overpay to buy real estate, especially if the interest rate is zero. And one of the biggest thing that just hits me in the face is depreciation. So now, like your cost basis into that property is higher than it would be if you bought cheaper with an 8% interest rate. Now that can go the other way too. There's also pros and cons of that, but that's definitely one pro to that to think about when you're potentially overpaying when it comes to this. So can Andy, were you going to go back and kind of explain the calculator a little bit more?
Sure. We'll go back and explain. Remind me to tell you my golf story when we get done with this. So in these 5 buttons at the top, can you see my big purple arrow?
Yes.
Good. I like my big purple arrow. It's one of the few mouses I can find. So in is always the number of months. Well, no, it's not. It's the number of months the way this calculator is set up. Currently, this is set up for 12 payments per year, and it's set up for end mode, which means we're calculating our systems. So this is a very powerful device, and it really takes a full day to learn how to do it. And now my wife's taking a phone call on this side of the room. Shift key will turn years into notes. They're 240 months in 20 years. 30, 360. So this is the number of periods. This is the number of times that payment happens. Payments are always a certain repeating thing. It's the same number. It happens all the way through the loan. I/YR is the interest or yield rate on our note. If we're calculating interest for a loan we're borrowing, then it's I, or interest. If we're trying to figure out what we make on an investment, we're going to calculate our yield. So this is always presented in a percentage. So anytime we click on a button, it will solve. So there's 4 here, right? We've got in, we've got PV, payment, future value. So what interest rate is that if we finance that over 30 years? It's coming out minus, which means it's not going to work at that interest rate, or this won't amortize. I know why it won't amortize. So let's say we did an $800 payment instead. So this button here is our payment button. This is something that happens repeatedly in number of times. So that's a 0.31% loan. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, PV here is the present value. That's the value today. Or occasionally, if we're trying to look back in time, that would be the value when this loan started. And future value would be the value today, if we were looking back in time. We frequently do that. So let's do a little simple example. If we wanted to have $100,000 in the future, 30 years from today, and we could only earn 2% on our money, and we're starting with nothing today, how much would we need to invest every month, a payment, so we would have $100,000 in 30 years at 2%? We just press on the payment key, and that tells you that if we put $202.95 into that exciting 2% investment, in 30 years, we would grow that up to be $100,000. If we kept doing that same deposit every month, it increased our return. We did a better job of investing and made 5%. Instead of $100,000, we're going to grow that to be $168,000. This tool is a great way to estimate all of these things that you might want to know. If you have a goal for where you want to be in your IRA in the future, and let's say that your goal is you want $6 million in 30 years, and you can make 5%, and we can put our maximum $600 a month into our IRA. This is the payment going into our self-directed IRA. How much do we need to yield on our $600 monthly investment for 30 years to get $6 million in 30 years? And you solve for the yield rate, and you'll find out we need to be making 17% if we're going to try to make $6 million in our IRA in just 30 years. Does everybody see how we figure that out?
Mm-hmm.
If we're just negotiating with somebody and they want to have a $150,000 purchase price for their house, and since you're getting the house for the loan, then the 150 would be positive for present value. It's going to be fully amortized in 30 years. We're still on 360. What payment would we need? We solve for payment again. They would tell you that if they want to, so let's change that to a more reasonable interest rate. Let's not give them 16. Let's give them 7. So our payment would need to be just under $1,000 a month. So what if our tenants can only afford a $750 a month payment because of what the house will rent for today based on where it is and what it is? So we change the payment to $750. We give our seller their $150,000. We give them the 7% they want. The one thing that can change will be the term. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's try $775. Do you see how we can play with these numbers until we find something that works? That won't work. Let's try $850. Still no solution. Let's see what interest only works out to be. See, by matching, that's not enough. By matching the present value and the future value, we can calculate an interest-only loan. You put any number you'd like in except for 0, and we'll find out that at 7%, $150,000 interest only takes $875 a month in payment. So if we know 750 is our number, and the seller seems to want 360 because they think that's how long loans should work, the only interest rate they'll be able to get is 6. But if they have their heart set on 7, let's say they have their heart set on 7, they really want a 30-year amortization, but they're willing to let you have a $750 payment for the first 5 years or 60 months. So what's going to happen with this number? Are we going to have amortized that much in those 60 months? Is it going to get small?
It's going to go up.
It's going to go up. So now you owe $158,000. But it could be that after 5 years of rent increases and smoothing out your operation of this rental house, now this house can afford an $850 a month payment. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the balance here, which is after our 5 years of negative amortization, over here to present value. We're going to change our payment to $850. We're going to make this amortizing. So we make future value 0. And we will find out that our term on our loan needs to become, that wasn't enough. Let's make it 900. 900 doesn't do it either. Let's see if we can get it up to 1,000. There we go. So if we can give him his 7% the whole time, the balance is going to go up for 5 years, and then it's going to go down for 450 months, which is something less than 50 years. It's actually just less than 40 years, because 40 is 480.
Mhm.
So let me tell you my golfer story. There are 2 guys out on the golf course. One of them he's a salesman, and he has made the sale of the century. You know, you've spent some time with that salesman. I'm sure you have, all of us have. So for 18 holes, this guy has been bragging about how he can sell ice cubes to Eskimos. So they get to the 19th hole, and his golf buddy says, you know what, jerk? You've been bragging about how you can sell ice cubes to Eskimos for 18 holes. I've heard just about enough. You see that nice bottle of scotch up there on the top shelf we've all been admiring? He says, yeah, it's a nice bottle of scotch. I'll bet you that bottle of scotch that you can't sell that rental house you have down on Main Street for $1 million. $1 million? That's a lot for that house. That's not one I wanted to sell. No, that's the bet. You can't do it, so just give up and buy me that booze. He says, no, you're on. So he calls Andy, because he knows Andy's crazy and will overpay for houses all the time. And he says, hey, Andy, I'm down here at the 19th hole with Joe. And you know that nice bottle of scotch we've been admiring up on the top shelf? I said, yeah, it looks like a tasty bottle, but $400 a lot to pay for one bottle of booze. Yeah, well, here's the thing. He's bet me that bottle that I can't sell my rental house on Main Street for $1 million. $1 million? An awful lot for that house. He said, yeah, I know, but you're the crazy guy that overpays for houses. All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pay you 2,000 payments of $500 a month for that house. Did he win his bet? 500 times 2,000?
Mm-hmm.
$1 million. Now, did I get a good deal for the house? It rents for 1,000, payments 500. So our rule of thumb says that without any unusual expenses like HOA fees that are excessive or crazy insurance or any of those odd factors, but just a routine, normal bread and butter house in a small town should cost you about 40% of your rent to operate. So $400 of that 1,000 goes to cost, 500 goes to the mortgage. If everything's perfect, I'll get to put $100 in my pocket that first year. So, but let's figure out if I got a good deal. If I value my cash at 7%, which I think is a reasonable value for valuing spending cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did I pay for the house? To figure that out, all we have to do is press present value. And we'll find out that I paid $85,000 for that house that rents for $1,000 a month if I value my cash at 7%. Now, the 1% rule tells us that that house should be worth $100,000. And many people, if you hang around in enough meetings, will tell you that the 1% rule isn't practical. You can't get it anymore. Did we get the 1% rule here? I think we did. It's funny, we used to joke about how our great-grandkid in 167 years was sitting down to write that last check. It's imagining they're still writing checks and putting them in an envelope. And he says to his brother, he says, you know, dang it, I really wanted to go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac, and instead I got to write this check for Grandpa Andy's mortgage. And everybody chuckles about that little story, but one smartass sat up in my class and said, "Have you ever done the math?" And I had to admit I had never done it. So, always up for a challenge, I decided to find out what that $500 payment, not made for 167 years, is worth today. So to do that, I put $500 as a one-time occurrence in 2,000 months. No other payments are going to be considered. I want to know what that payment is worth today. And I hit present value for present, and I get zeros. Well, I know zeros can't quite be right, so we have to change our display. So we orange, display 6, and we find out that that payment made in 167 years of $500 won't even pay a fraction of the sales tax on that Big Mac. It's only worth 0.4 pennies, less than a half a cent. Now,
Not good.
everyone in the room appreciates a hot fudge sundae, right?
I do.
And the thing that makes it a sundae instead of ice cream with hot chocolate sauce on it is the cherry for the top. So if we take the 1% rule for the actual cash value today of that house, and we take an 80-20 split on the value of the structure to the value of the land, that tells us that that house is sitting on a $20,000 lot. So if we take $1 million and we subtract $20,000 from that, we find out that we paid $980,000 for that house. Everybody agree? Because the IRS has no concept of tax time value of money. We divide that by 27.5 because it's a residence. And we find out that that house has depreciation write-up of $35,636 every year on a house that only earns $6,000 a year because the principal pay down is not deductible. That means that for the next 27 and a half years, I can earn $29,000 in tax-free passive income. Isn't that a nice cherry for the top of the sundae?
Yep, something that most people don't consider.
And just obviously, this is an absurd example. It just proves a point.
Yeah.
So let's look at. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you guys have questions, just just get your questions ready. If you want to unmute, that's totally fine.
Absolutely.
I'm having people text me, Andy. They really want to know what the buttons are.
Okay.
You just like do a
I've only said it 6 times, but let's say it one more time.
Well, I think you only went over the top ones, but just kind of go over like every button, and then like if you switch it between the,
Got it.
the shift and everything, what it does. You don't have to show us, just kind of go over it if you don't mind.
Here, this is what this row does. On the front screen, they're all I don't know. On the shift screen, IRR, I'm not sure what this change. Actually, no, I don't know what this changes. This changes beginning and ending. But I don't know what any of this other stuff does. There are a lot of, this is an overcomplicated device. It could be much simpler. And when I teach my class, we're going to spend almost the entire class talking about these 5 buttons.
I got you.
And these buttons here, and
basically
occasionally
just use those top 5 buttons on most of your calculations.
right. This is a standard 6-function calculator down here.
Sure.
This button's really neat for starters because if you press this button, you get your choice of either printed instructions or videos. So this tells you what's coming up. This is the great way they'll walk you through all of the.
I think that helps. So he did go over those top 5. There is a question here. So if I have $100,000 mortgage, so I think somebody's asking you to solve this here.
There's $100,000.
$100,000 mortgage, and at 6%, instead of paying $600 a month, he wants to pay $300 twice a month. How much time would he trim off his mortgage?
Oh, good. So what we have to do to make this work is we have to change. So is he going to do it twice a month or is he going to do every other week?
This says twice a month.
Okay, so we're going to change payments per year. So we're going to do orange, payments per year. Okay, let's try this again. Orange, nope. 24 orange payments per year. There we go. And he wants to know how quicker he's going to get it paid off. So we've got 6% interest, $100,000, $300 payment made twice a month.
Versus a $600 a month payment.
Right. So that's going to take 718 bi-monthly payments. So if we divide that by 2, that's going to save you a whole 1.2 payments.
Well, are you sure that 600 would have actually gotten it to?
Yeah, because that's one I've got memorized. That's 30
Okay.
years at 6%, 600. That's the one I did 25 years of business on.
Gotcha. So yeah, $100,000, $600 a month payments get you 30 years. So basically a month, it only saves you a month and a half of interest is what you're saying.
Yeah. But let's look at what most people are actually preaching, which is biweekly payments.
So you get
we're
26
making
payments.
26 payments per year.
Yeah.
Then you'll find in drops to 636.15 divided by 2.
6 or that. Okay.
So that's going to shave 40 months off here. That biweekly payment scheme is actually a pretty good one for shortening things. The bi-monthly doesn't get you much.
Ken Veroli wants to know, like, what does the blue and the orange buttons do?
Well, they're shift keys. The blue is to do statistics. So if you hit the blue button, those of you that are economics majors can get all that. You get the coupon percentage, the calls, all the statistics stuff. But for the note business, the real estate business, we just don't use that stuff. The orange shift key we use frequently. I'm going to load in. Let me put this back to 12 payments per year so I don't cost myself money like the last time I did this. And let's make this a 40-year note and solve for the payment. So there's 100,000 at 6%, 40-year amortization. So we hit the orange button, and up here that says amort, where it used to say FV. Click on that, and it's bringing up our amortization schedule. So if you want to know how many months it takes to pay half your balance off, you just scroll down until you hit 50,000. I hope this is sharing well. So it's going to take 2 months short of 30 years to get half of that balance paid off.
Christy says, can you please show us the easy button, Andy?
The easy button. I don't use the easy button, Christy. You're the one that uses that thing. I don't even know where it is.
Andy, that's because I don't want to work as hard as you do.
But you're not as crazy as I am either. And I'm trying to find share on here. Where's update?
Where's the easy button?
It's actually just a different layout. There we go. I don't know where the easy button is. Is it on the computer one or just on the phone?
You may have a newer version. So if you don't have the 3 lines, there's 3 lines in the upper right corner, depending on your version. And then you would go down to TVM Easy Worksheet, and it looks like this. Look at that. It's beautiful.
So here's the problem: is you're on the phone app, and I'm on the computer app.
True story.
And believe it or not, Christy, you know how cheap I am, right?
$9.
So
Old one.
yeah,
I like the
free one.
easy button. That looks
I do
good,
too.
Christy. Where did you get that? In the App Store?
Let me find it. Let's see if I can find it. No, no.
Andy, you had the TVM worksheet in the view tab. Go back to the view
Here's
menu.
mine.
Go back to the TVM.
View menu. Go to the view on the top.
View.
View.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you see last but one is the TVM Control 8.
TVM
Go all
worksheet.
the way down.
That one?
Yep.
Oh, there it is. It's called the TVM worksheet on the desktop, at least the beta version. Well, that just moves your buttons sideways is all. Christy likes it because it's prettier.
She likes the easy button. We all do. That looks good, Christy. I'm going to check it
You
out.
know,
I've got the app.
When it looks that garbled, people aren't going to accept it as easily as a nice, clean, and it doesn't give me the version number. It's got red 10BII finance on the App Store.
Probably. I may actually have that on my phone
Yeah, it's MBI.
because the phone app and the desktop app are different. And there's easy mode right on mine.
There you go.
And wait a minute, it gives me a list of questions. You have to choose what you're solving for first?
Christy?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. So
Can you see that?
I already had, okay, I let me see if I can make you larger. Hold on.
Here, you can we give
Okay.
Christy the presenter mode, Tom, and let her show
The
it?
share?
Yeah, I just need
No, it's on my phone.
It's on her phone. That won't work.
Oh, you
It's
can still
interesting
hold it
'cause-
up there and we'd all see it. It's okay.
yeah, Andy would just have to stop sharing.
So, there it is. It's the TVM easy worksheet. Is that the button you press?
It says easy TVM, three
There you
dotted
go, see?
lines or three lines in the upper right, TVM easy worksheet. Yes.
Okay, see, it's way down on my screen. That's how I get yours. Yeah. I got it on my
That way
phone.
you can see what you're doing all at the same time. All those numbers are showing up at the same time, and then you just change them interchangeably instead of having to memorize, if you have to do them in a certain order or whatnot.
That's a nice thing. There is no certain order. Stick
Right.
the right number in any four of those keys and hit the fifth one, it will solve.
Yeah.
So we're losing people. That's not a good sign. I'm going to show you one more button on here before I get back from screen sharing and just answer questions. See right here in the middle of the screen, there's a button that says CF little j. That's going to bring up our cash flow journal. And I don't use it on this very often. Add, there we go. So you can add a few boxes. And this is what you would do if you have an
Andy,
irregular cash flow. What's
sorry,
that?
Andy, do you have more than one screen? More than one monitor?
Are you seeing what I'm saying? I think are you seeing both of these, or are you not seeing what I'm bringing up?
We are just seeing the calculator. I think the other one might have populated in the second monitor.
Got it.
Drag it over.
That would make stuff a little easier. Let me see if I can change what I'm sharing. So you guys didn't get to see the amortization schedules. Let me do stop share.
No. Yeah, the amortization never came up.
Oh, okay. Let's try this again. Go back to share again. So let me show you the irregular cash flow calculator, which is here. So the CF little j button brings up this screen. And let's say that you have the opportunity to buy a non-performing note, and you have to pay $27.85 for it. And you get nothing for 7 months. Then you have to spend what's a foreclosure costing these days now? About $4,000?
Depends on the state.
What's that?
It depends on the state.
Let's say $4,000 just for fun.
Sure.
Where?
And after you do that, you get it performing again, and you're going to make $500 a month. and you're going to get 360 of those. This calculator tells us that our internal rate of return on our $2,785 investment with the $4,000 for foreclosure cost is still 71.27%. Do you see where it is right there?
Yep.
And if we were happy with 50%, what could we pay for it? So we hit NPV, I think. I do this on my phone too much. So let's go back again. Go back here. Back here. Let me bring that up on my screen again. Excuse me. Let's bring the amortization schedule up. Now let's share the amortization schedule that you guys didn't get to watch, because I thought it would show both windows side by side, because that's the way it appears on my screen. There, are you seeing the amortization schedule now?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So as you see, I scrolled down to 50,000 on the balance, which is right here. 359 months to pay half of your $100,000 loan if you have a 480-month amortization schedule. All right, I need a good question.
I don't know that we're going to get very many, but if somebody's got one, go for it right now.
That's something simple.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where everyone's afraid to ask.
Okay,
Ken Rowley, thanks for asking your question a little bit ago
Yes, that was
about
good.
the blue and orange buttons.
And I like the easy button too, Christy.
The blue and
Okay.
orange just shift so you can get to the other functions, Ken.
Yeah.
That was a
Dan,
good question.
do you still have weekly calls or bi-weekly or?
I have a free weekly newsletter, and I'm active in 3 different exchange meetings where we frequently use this tool. And that's the I run the one in California, which is 2 p.m. Pacific time. It's a combo meeting on Zoom and in person. Then I'm active in St. Petersburg on Thursday mornings at 9:30 Eastern, and then Ohio is 9:30 Eastern as well on Fridays. So I'm active in all 3 of those. So let me give you one little trick before we go on about our days. Let's set up a simple $100,000 loan with 100 payments, and it's at 10%. So our payment on that loan is going to be $1,477.81. Barney Zick taught a trick that said if you can buy a fraction of the payments for a matching fraction of the balance, and you can express that fraction as a second grade fraction, a 1 over something. You take the denominator and multiply it times the interest rate on the note, you will find that the yield you make on your investment is approximately equal to the interest rate times the denominator. So for example, if I buy 50 payments of this note for $50,000, I will find that my return is 19.85%. So if I buy a fifth of the payments for a fifth of the balance, my return is going to be just short of 49. So that's an estimator. It's not exactly right, but it's an easy way to help people out. And the thing that we like to do to show our potential note sellers, if we go back to our original note, so that's what we started with. And we're going to take the first 20 payments of this note. What's the balance when we hand it back to the person we did the deal with? So we can change N to 20, calculate the future value, and we can show the person that we're trying to get to sell us those 20 payments for $20,000, that when they get their note back, their balance will still be $86,000. So it appears they're actually making $6,000 more by selling us the first 20 payments, so we can make 50% cash on cash return. They get 106,000. And that's frequently the secret to getting people to do these kind of deals.
Gotcha.
I'm
Cool.
going to stop sharing so I can stare at all of you now. There we go.
Yeah, so we are at the top of the hour, guys. If anybody has any questions, Barbara's got a question. If you have a 30-year mortgage at $100,000 at 6%, how long will it take to pay it off if you pay $50 extra per month towards principal?
Oh, cool. So that's the kind of stuff that's fun to do with this. Share. There we go. That one. Share. So we're going to do a 30-year mortgage. And we're going to go 6%.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be 650 instead of 600, basically.
Okay, so we're going to do a 650 payment. We want to be fully amortized. We want to know how much that cuts it down. That cuts it down by 66 months, over 5 years, just for that extra $50.
You got it.
Hey, Jay.
There you go.
Hey, Andy.
Jay
So
spent a weekend with me.
Waldo says, where can you see more of these teachings? This guy is a small note investor. Andy, can you tell us about some of the upcoming trainings that you have?
I'm going to be at your place.
You sure are.
Next month
in May. You guys can come see me and Andy at the same time.
Yeah, you have a really nice facility. Let me get the date so I don't screw up.
So one thing, while he's looking that up, guys, I actually do recommend you get on the weekly and really so I'll be honest with you, I don't read every single week, but the ones that I do, I always learn something. So and he normally will do like 3 of these calculations for you, and he'll kind of ask you questions about how to do these. He normally just tells you about some upcoming events and stuff as well. But Andy, can you put in the chat how people can get, or if you want to give it to us, me or Jim?
I just put it in the chat. So just shoot me an email. It's called just say I want your newsletter so I can make Constant Contact happy. And let's see if Jay started with a good question.
All right, so I've got a quick question for you. Actually, 2 parts. Yeah, you guys having trouble hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So first off, just for the folks on the call here, learning how to use that 10B2 app has earned me way, way, way more money than any other skill in real estate has. So now my question for you, Andy. Let's say you get in a time machine and go back to when you were 43 years old, and you're still building your empire, and you're sitting on a portfolio of notes that are making decent cash flow, but you're not sure if holding on to these things any longer is the right move to do. What would you do with $1 million of note equity right now if you were 43 years old?
Good question. If you're sitting on $1 million worth of notes, what's your average yield on them?
Right now, the average yield is infinite because it's all wrapped around private money first mortgages.
Okay,
But
that's a hard interest rate to beat.
hard interest rate to beat, but at the same time, there's equity sitting there. I'd like put it this. Let's call it a blended return rate of somewhere between 15 and 20%.
Okay, so if you're making 15 to 20%, and you had an opportunity to go flip a mobile home and make 50%, it might behoove you to hypothecate those notes to someone who would lend you by securing the income stream for those notes, the money that you could use to do a mobile home flip and make 50%. So remember that paper is really imminently liquid. It's a lot quicker to sell a note than it is to sell stocks or bonds or anything like that. You can just do it tomorrow. You can go out to your friends and say, I need to get $50,000 and I'm going to put up a $200,000 note. What can I borrow $50,000 secured by this note for? And see what the offers are. Thanks, Shree. See, I like a jargon flag every now and then. Yes, that's a way to secure a loan against some paper.
Right. Okay.
Actually, any asset.
All right. Sounds
Thanks.
good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
I wonder though, so like basically what you're saying, Jay, is that you have trapped equity. You don't really have any money in the deal itself, but you kind of have trapped equity in there. I think the right way, this is how I'd be looking at it, Jay. I would look at how much money am I making per month on everything versus how much money could I make if I untrapped the equity, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and even if it's in a fund or even if it's like lower percent, maybe it's 10 or 12%, but how much money could I make at 10 or 12% if I pulled all the cash out versus what you're making now? It's not, to me, it's not a very complicated equation. That I don't think you really need the financial calculator to figure that out. It's really kind of just figuring out, because trapped equity is hard to just calculate on a calculator, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's correct. It's opportunity cost and
Right.
yeah, trapped equity, and what am I going to do with the money if I pull it out? So,
Exactly.
okay.
So, Lorelia had a question about her 10BII. It doesn't look like this one. There are about 6 different decent HPII apps. The one that's brown and comes from in-a-day development is the better one because it has those other 2 buttons I showed you, and the green one doesn't have those features. And that on your phone costs a rip-roaring $5.99, and it goes from phone to phone to phone, because before I was buying these combat cases, I was buying a new cell phone every 90 days. So I don't get a commission on it. I should. Next time I bump into Kyle and Kenny, I'm going to give them a hard time. But I'm seeing if there's anything else in here that we could do.
The only other thing I see is hypothecate, borrow against cash flowing note. Maybe just explain that a little bit, but we are kind of at the end of our call time today. So if you want to just give that quick thing, we can kind of wrap this up.
Well, everyone knows what a trust deed or a mortgage is, right? And it's when you secure a note or some document against a piece of real estate. That actually is a hypothecation, and because hypothecation is a generic term that means borrowed against, probably in Latin, knowing how these lawyers work. But when you're borrowing against an asset that's a paper asset, we typically call that a hypothecation. And you can hypothecate against leases. You can hypothecate against life insurance policies. You can hypothecate against a lot of things. If you go down, Christy, you go down to React, and you'll see a button that says.
How about if I just ask my question?
Sure.
So this is big. I asked somebody about hypothecation. I said, hey, I have notes in my solo K. If I hypothecate, am I creating a debt? Well, yes, potentially yes. But if you sell a portion of your payment, you're not hypothecating. You are selling a portion of your payment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let me point something out. If you sell a portion of a note that is held outside of your IRA, that will be a taxable event. So as far as tax purposes, you're better off outside of your IRA to hypothecate the note. The reverse of that is true in your IRA. If you're in your IRA and you borrow or hypothecate against a note, you will owe UDFI for whatever you earn with that money you borrowed, which is an onerous tax of 35 or 37%.
Exactly. So I don't hypothecate. I don't create a debt. I simply sell a portion of my payments.
But like I said, that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do outside of your IRA, because it works the other direction if it's a note held out of your IRA. And if you hold those notes in your solo 401k rather than your IRA, and you're going to use that money to acquire or improve real estate, that is specifically excluded from UDFI. But you have to borrow money in your solo K rather than your IRA, and you have to use it for one of those 2 specific purposes. You will frequently hear people teach from the front of the room that you can borrow money in your solo 401k and not pay taxes on it, but you have to do one of those two things with it. By the way, if you spend a weekend with me, we will have a lot of IRA conversations because I think the IRA is an amazing, amazing tool, especially for those of us that are investing in notes, because I do almost all of my lending out of my 401s and my IRAs. And somebody asked when I'm going to come to Texas. Poke Jim about that. I need a Reeal to come invite me to come do all the footwork in the local towns, and I have plenty of space left this year. So have
So
your
we're
Reeal
gonna-
contact me.
We are going to wrap up. Andy, I want to thank you so much for investing in our community today. I do understand this is a little hard to follow if you're not already in the day-to-day. You can tell there's some people that are already kind of learning some of this stuff and they just want to learn a little more. Isn't it funny, Jim, Andy, some of the more experienced people on this call, Al, and I see a lot of other smart people, Ken, on the call. Every time I feel like I learn more, and Augie, I see Augie there too, I always feel like there's even more that I don't know. So,
Absolutely. The more you learn, the more you know you don't know.
exactly. So it's just been a good call. I appreciate your investment in our community. Andy is going to be with me here May 17th and 18th. Also, a lot of talk has been talked about Heritage IRA and Derek Long. Derek will also be with us for those 2 days. He's going to present for a couple hours, I think, on the one day, because part of Andy's talk goes into IRAs. So Derek's going to be with us as well. We did put the link in there if anybody's interested in those 2 days in May here, May 17th and 18th. So you guys want to come and hang out with us, you guys can do that as well. Other than that, guys, next month, I do want to kind of just want to remind everybody about next month. Make sure you guys remember, I believe it's the 20th, right? Yeah, May 20th with Bill Cook. Talking about door knocking. He's a really he's very easy to follow, very simple, and you guys will really enjoy Andy. I mean, you really enjoy Bill. But thanks again, Andy, for being on today.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody else, for jumping on. It was a really good call.
I do want to highlight one more thing, Tom.
Yes, sir.
And that is that if you found me overwhelming today, because it's kind of tough to put enough into, an hour, I will tell you'll find me a little overwhelming on the weekend. And because of that, I offer free retakes anytime I'm producing a class and whenever I have a sponsor who's willing to have my retakers in the room. So are we doing that for yours, Tom? We're going to have.
Yes, sir. If anybody wants to come that's already come, they're more than welcome.
Yeah, pony up something for the food in the book. And that's so many people, some of my most successful students took 3 times through before it really clicked.
And I can see why. Yeah, absolutely. So come spend the weekend with us. If you've already taken one of Andy's courses, like I said, you guys are more than welcome to come and do it again. It's a very kind of flat, we're not offering a whole bunch of stuff, and we're not, offering a whole bunch of networking events. If those things kind of come together, we're not doing lunches or anything. It's just a simple 2-day type of deal. But we'd love to have you guys come for that event. Just remember, next month, May 20th, 11 a.m. Eastern time, Bill Cook. Pray for us next week as we go to Guatemala. Pray for Augie and Jim.
Yes, please.
Share the love as well. And have a good Easter, guys. Just remember, if you're a Christian, this is our 4th of July. This is our Independence Day. This is really what gives us eternal life. And, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. I've decided to make this week an entire fast from all politics. Anything I see on social, I'm just skipping right over. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to even talk about it or think about it this week. I want to think about the King of Kings and Lord of Lords this week on his day. So hopefully you guys have a good Easter, and we'll see you back here next month. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks again.